Throughout Abe's time in the Holocaust, he was forced into different concentration camps. After living in Weihingen camp, Abe was moved to Hessental camp. Due to the laborious nature of the camps, various camps and subcamps had specialized duties. Hessental was not a main concentration camp, it was a subcamp of Knightswood-Struthof, which was located closer to France. The main duty of Hessental was transportation maintenance, such as buildings and repairing railroads, as well as cleaning damaged airfields. There were 50 subcamps under the main camp Knightsweiler-Struthof, which all had different tasks. The population of the main camp was 7,000, while the total population of the Knightsweiler branch of subcamps was 20,000. In the subcamps, there were different duties. For example, Hessental was used for building railroads, Altdorf made works out of forestry, Birkenau worked with agriculture, the women in Gleiwitz-Tube made coal tar, the men in Gleiwitz-Tube repaired and maintained machinery in factories. Janini Gruba was used for coal mining, those in SF Butzig cleared rubble and repaired railroad lines, and Chehukvitz repaired unexploded bombs and battlefields.
Hessental was located in a town in southwestern Germany and was part of the Baden-Württemberg state. Before the camp was made, it was an airport called Luftwaffe, which was originally built in 1936, but then destroyed by the Allies in 1944. Hessental became a camp on top of the destruction. It was built in summer of 1944 and began running in October. It was eventually destroyed in April 1945 as the Allies closed in and ended the war.
A man named Morris Freibaum was interviewed by the Sun Centennial paper and told his experience in the Holocaust. Similarly to Abe, he was also put to work in the Hessental concentration camp, but that only lasted a few months until they were both transported to Dachau because of impending attacks coming from the Allies. Although both Abe and Morris worked in the same camp, they had very different jobs. Morris was tasked with clearing the airfields close to a warplane factory. Many others had this job as well because a program called Messerschmitt Me-262 was located nearby. This program was a Nazi project which built fighter jets that were said to be more powerful and dangerous than the Allied jets. The slave laborers were not in charge of building the planes, but they were forced to level and repair the fields.
Abe had a different job. He was forced to build railroad tracks along the railway, which the Hessental camp was strategically placed on. The railroad and the other transportation systems were extremely important to the Nazis' final plan, which was kept secret to the public. A letter from Reinhard Heydrich described this plan as the final objective, published in Document 27 in the book Sources of the Holocaust. This letter was based around planning the location of the Jewish ghettos. These rules on locations were also used for the location of the concentration camps. Locations with railroad systems were preferred for easy transport of the Jewish subjects, along with gypsies, homosexuals, and other people the SS and the Nazis considered inferior.
The main camp that Hessental was a part of, called Knightsweiler-Struthof, was one of the camps and places involved in the Jewish skeleton collection. This experiment consisted of taking Jews from Auschwitz, moving them to Knightsweiler-Struthof. Then they were fed very well in a place called Block 13. They were gassed one by one in April of 1943. This experiment sought out to establish the superiority of the Germans over the Jewish people. The study took the lives of at least 86 inmates, 57 men, and 29 women. The corpses of these victims was then transported to Reich University, where they were studied. The Germans tried to justify this by saying that these killings were in fact for scientific research, but that was a lie. This was just one of the major atrocities of the Holocaust.
As life in the Hessental camp continued, Abe kept working all day filled with a slice of bread and a bowl of soup. When the Allied forces got closer, Abe and the rest of the camp were shoved onto a train and embarked on a forced journey to Dachau. On the way there, the train was bombed by the Allied forces. Abe described his train cart being in between two carts that were bombed. He explained how the train jumped up in the air and then slammed on the ground. His car went up about 4 to 5 feet in the air and landed. He claimed to be unconscious for a few seconds, yet he ended up okay. He also believes that he went to heaven temporarily and saw people in white robes, only to be told he wasn't needed yet. He woke up back in the car completely okay, which is a scientific miracle.
Primary source Private John Lee was a 45th Division soldier who was one of the first American men to witness the Dachau death train. He said in a quote, "These people were stuffed in these cars. The cars had bullet holes all over them, evidently from strafing on the way to Dachau. Most of the GIs just stood there in silence and disbelief. We had seen men in battle blown apart, burnt to death, and die many other different ways, but we never prepared for this. Several of the dead lay there with their eyes open, a picture I will never get out of my mind. It seems they were looking at us and saying, 'What took you so long?' This picture was taken on one of the Dachau death trains."